Welcome to our program on Kardec Radio.
Hello dear friends, welcome back to Spiritism and the Media here on Kardec Radio. Today I would like to bring to us a text from Emmanuel. It is on the book Palavras da Vida Eterna. It would be something like Words of the Life Eternal, translated to English. Unfortunately, the book has not been translated yet, so I brought this translation. I did it myself, so excuse me for any mistakes. And it is on chapter 53 from this book. The name of the chapter is Written Words. So in this chapter, Emmanuel is talking about a passage from the letter from Paul to the Thessalonians on chapter 5, number 21. So the passage is the following. Prove all things, hold fast that which is good. So that's what Paul brings to us. Prove all things, hold fast to what is good. And the reason I brought this text here is because Emmanuel is going to explain how we can use that passage, how we can use those words from Paul in our daily activities when we are talking about reading. So let's see what Emmanuel has to say about that. The Apostle Paul said, prove all things, but he did not forget to add, hold fast that which is good. Many people take advantage of the text to affirm that the apprentices of the gospel should read indiscriminately, even when it comes to ingesting the corrosives of opinion in newspaper, letters, or the feces of thought in the form of books. So the first point that Emmanuel is saying here is that many people, many of us, we read those words from Paul and we just say, like the first part, okay, we should read everything, so let's read everything, everybody. Let's do that. Let's read all the things that we have available, no matter if it is good, no matter if it is bad. So Emmanuel is saying that many people just hold to the first part of the passage. And he says, yes, it is natural that the matured and balanced mind can read everything and observe everything, but it's not advisable for children and the sick, the weak and alienated potentials of reason to experience and see everything. So he's saying, okay, Paul said that we should read everything and we can keep what is good. But in order for us to do that, we should what? We should be able to analyze what is good and what is bad. And some people, as he explains here, as Emmanuel explains here, they cannot do that. For example, kids. If we imagine a kid, even though we know that a kid is already a spirit that has had many incarnations, so the kids, they have that baggage from their past. But we know that while in the first years here in this incarnation, they are still like learning again, they are still opening and connecting themselves. So a kid is not able to understand everything and to know what is good, what is bad, and to analyze and to have the best choices for them. That's why they have the parents to guide them. So, and the same applies to the sick, to someone who have, for example, someone who has any kind of mental disability. That person won't be able to analyze and to keep what is good and to avoid what is bad, because some people, they are not able of doing that. So that's why Emmanuel is saying, okay, Paul said that, but that should be applied to the ones who are already able to have that analysis. And not all of us, we are not able all the time, especially, and also if we think about ourselves, not all the time we're able, because not all the time we're 100% good and ready to do that analysis. And that's what Emmanuel is saying here. He said, wisely the divine laws provides on the subject, suggesting the survey of areas indispensable for just segregation. So he says, Kids find homes and schools in order to qualify for life's struggle. Patients are referred to the hospital to recover. Crazy people apply for mental institutions in search of rebalancing. Weak creatures that the crime has marked with painful stigmas retreat to penitentiary in whose roughness they readjust. So here he's giving some example of some situations or some group of people that they are not able to have the discernment, so they need to have that support. For example, the kids, they have the support at home or at school. So that's why, for example, Emmanuel is talking about here about reading, but we can also bring that passage and that information to watching a movie. For example, that's why we have the PG, the PG-13 and all the recommendations and the suggestions if a movie is good for kids, for a teenager, for certain ages, or if we are talking about video games, the same applies, because there are some situations that a kid is not able, they are not prepared to watch. There are some situations that if they watch, they can harm them. They can have some negative influence in their mind, in their lives, and it also applies to all of us. Even though, for example, an adult is able to watch every kind of movie, is able to read any kind of book, but many times we are not good enough. In certain days, there are certain days that we are a little down, that we know that we should avoid some kinds of reading or some kinds of movie or TV shows to watch. So it's also up to us to know when we are able to do, when we feel that we are 100% good to do that kind of analysis or not. If I see that every time I watch a horror movie, I go to sleep, I have nightmares, why will I keep doing that? So I already know that that's not good for me, so I may avoid that. So it's up to us as well, because as Emmanuel says, as Paul says, we need to be able to separate what's good and what's bad. So once that we know that some kind of reading, for example, is not good for us, why are we keep doing that? Why are we keep reading those? So it's something that as we know more ourselves, we are able to do that. And he says, so therefore, if you recognize yourself in the fullness of your spiritual strength, analyze everything, knowing that it is necessary to retain the good, capable of helping in the edification or healing to others. That's another point. Okay, but keep the good only for me? No. Let's keep the good, as he says, to help others. So let's share what we have. So it's not about, okay, let's acquire all the knowledge possible, so it's just for me, I'm the only one who will grow spiritually speaking. No. In order for us to grow, we need to help others as well. Let's do charity unto our brothers and sisters. And he says, if you have the necessary discernment and if you have the necessary time, read everything using the sieve of understanding and usefulness, but do not forget to choose what is good and only honor what is good, in favor of those who still do not think safely as you can already think. So we can use that in order to help others. Let's think about all those groups, like parents who are helping their kids with their upbringing. So they need to know how to choose the good from the bad, so they can better help their kids to go through their path. So it's up to us to know, to understand what is good and what is not, to hold what is good, and actually to use that knowledge that we have to help others. So that's why I brought this lesson from Emmanuel, because I think it's a very good advice for all of us in our daily lives. And now, as I usually do, I will read, talking about the uplifting reading, I read a passage from the book Happy Life by Divaldo Franco, channeled by Divaldo Franco by the Spirit Joana de Angelis. I open it randomly. So, number 54. Be kind and good without becoming subservient. Humility is a lofty virtue that does not coexist with vile situations. Incorruptible humility enriches people with spiritual values that make them strong in their apparent weakness and powerful in their poverty. Socrates, Christ, and Gandhi are humility's greatest example and evolution's most beautiful exponents. Stricken down by crazed murderers, they prefer to die rather than to yield, remaining immortal in their grand victory. So thank you so much for your company. May God be with all of us. See you next week.